Today is the 5th edition of Kids Parliament, and I can't wait to hear more of the children. Today, our topic is: should African have a single currency for trade in all the African countries? I know you have a lot of reasons why we should have one currency or we should not have. So I want you to be very attentive. Listen to the children in the courtroom. Let's experience the kids' parliament from the perspective of a child, what they think that if we should have one currency to trade on as an African country. My name is Rosemary Osei-Kuffour, and I can't wait to have all the children around. Let's zoom in into the courtroom and see what they have for us.
Almighty and merciful God, as we gather here today in this esteemed chamber, we humbly seek your guidance and wisdom. Grant us the clarity of mind to discern what is just and right, and the courage to uphold the values of truth, integrity, and compassion in all our deliberations. Bless each member of this assembly with the strength to serve our nation and its people with diligence and sincerity. May we approach our responsibilities with humility and a spirit of cooperation, mindful of the trust placed upon us by our fellow citizens. Grant us, O Lord, the ability to listen attentively, to speak with honesty and respect, and to act with wisdom and discernment. May your divine presence be felt among us, guiding our proceedings and uniting us in the pursuit of the common good. We offer this prayer in your holy name, trusting in your infinite wisdom and grace. Amen. Honorable members, I extend a warm and hearty welcome to each and every one as we commence this extraordinary meeting of the 5th season of Kids Parliament. This meeting is to discuss a very important motion before this House. Should Africa have one currency for all African countries to trade on? Honorable members, we will proceed. Let's hear from the Honorable Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Jael Irekwa Akwa, Minister for Finance, and I stand tall and proud for the motion that says Africa should use a single currency. Yes, a single currency for our great continent, Africa. Madam Speaker, imagine this. You go to Nigeria with your family and want to buy some food, but your Ghana cedis is not accepted. You go to South Africa, and again, your money is useless. This makes life hard for travelers, traders, and even students. That is why I say Africa must come together and use one strong currency. Just like Euro in Europe. If Europe can do it, why can't Africa? Madam Speaker, my first point is easy trade and unity. With a single currency, African countries can buy and sell goods easily without changing money all the time. At the moment, exchanging money from one currency to another is stressful and expensive. If we have a currency like Afro, we can trade smoothly, quickly, and happily. A single currency will bring unity. Right now, we use over 40 different currencies in Africa. This makes us divided, but with one strong currency, we feel like one big African family. We will stand together, just like the African Union dreams. Madam Speaker, my second point is about strong economy and cost cutting. Some African countries have weak currencies, and prices go up every day. But when we use a single currency, we can control inflation and make our money stronger. A stronger currency means more jobs, better schools, and food on every table. Madam Speaker, a single currency can help cut costs. Governments spend too much money printing different currencies, but with just one, we save money and use to build roads, hospitals, and clean water systems for all Africans. This, in essence, will make Africa more respected. Today, people trust the dollar and euro more than our African currencies, But with one strong African currency, the world will respect our money and we can stand tall in global markets. I know some honorable members will say it is difficult. Yes, change is hard, but it is possible. Great things don't come easy. Africa is full of smart people and rich resources. If we believe and work together, we can make it happen. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, I strongly believe Africa should use a single currency because it will make trade easy, bring unity, reduce costs, build a strong economy, and earn global respect. Let us rise as one people with one currency. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, honorable members of the House, fellow debaters, panel of judges, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I, Honorable Karis Danso, Deputy Minister of Finance, stand before this noble House today to speak against the motion that Africa should have one currency for trade. Right, Honorable Speaker, Africa is a beautiful continent made up of 54 different countries, each with its own money, economy, and challenges. Imagine 54 diverse countries with different economies, policies, and priorities having just a single currency. It might sound like a dream of unity at first glance, but in reality, the costs outweigh the benefits. So why? Just why do we really need a whole new currency? Madam Speaker, Africa's economies are not the same. Africa is made up of 54 countries, each with its own economy, inflation rates, resources, and strengths. All these countries are independent of their own, with their own currency, like the Ghanaian cedi, Nigerian naira, Egyptian pound, Nambian dollar, and so much more. Forcing everyone to have the same currency would be like giving everyone the same pair of shoes and expecting them to fit. Honorable members of the House, how can we expect the same currency to serve Nigeria with its oil economy, Ethiopia with its agriculture, and South Africa with its industrial base? Let's look at the Eurozone Europe. Even with its stronger institutions, Europe has struggles with countries like Greece and Italy nearly collapsing under the same weight of a common currency. Madam Speaker, from a financial viewpoint, Africa is not ready. This idea is too dangerous. If we all use one currency, we lose control over our money. We cannot fix our own problems. A one-size-fits-all currency would only deepen the inequality and benefit the stronger economies and punish the weaker ones. Madam Speaker, the cost of transition is too high. Creating a single currency would mean building new institutions, updating financial systems, reprinting money, and retraining bankers. This idea is too expensive for Africa now. Africa already has pressing needs in education, healthcare, jobs, and infrastructure. Again, having one currency would only bring about legal power struggles over one currency. Madam Speaker, if Africans were to adopt one currency, it would mean a central African bank or a monetary authority. But the question here is, who will host it? Who appoints the governors? How will justice be served to countries who feel like their voices are not heard? Madam Speaker, a practical example is the European Central Bank, which is constantly criticized by smaller EU nations for favoring bigger economies like Germany and France. Africa could face the same fate, or even worse, due to deeper inequalities. Madam Speaker, honorable judges, unity, as preached by my opponent, is important, but not at the expense of economic disaster. Let us strengthen our economies first. Let us build stable governments and stable trade systems. Then, in the distant future, we can talk about one currency. But for now, Africa should not have one currency for trade. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. I'm Honorable Yamiche Manjungwa, the Minister of Energy. I would like to ask some few reasons why Africa should use one currency for trading. Madam Speaker, when we all use one currency, it will enhance economic integration and cooperation. A single currency would lead to facilitate seamless trade among African countries, promoting economic integration and cooperation. This would lead to simplified trade among African neighboring countries, reduced transaction costs, making it easier for businesses to export goods to other African countries, and also improved economic stability, attracting foreign investment and creating jobs for Africans. Also, Madam Speaker, into increased energy trade and cooperation. As a Minister of Energy, I can attest that a single currency would greatly benefit the energy sector in Ghana. A unified currency would facilitate the importation of electricity from other African nations to another, encourage investment in regional energy infrastructure such as the West African Gas Pipeline, promoting energy security and cooperation among ECOWAS member states, and also reduce energy poverty, promoting economic development. By adapting to a single currency, African countries can unlock their vast economic potential, promote regional cooperation, and drive sustainable development, including in the energy sector. I will urge the opposition party to support this motion and take a significant steps toward a more integrated and prosperous Africa. Thank you.
Right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members of Parliament, panel of judges, co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen, good day and thank you. Thank you for lending your hearts, your minds, and your ears to this moment. A moment where we not just discuss coins and notes, but the heartbeat of the continent. I, Honorable Asei Jamado, Deputy Minister for Energy, stands boldly against this decision that Africa should have one currency for all African countries to trade on. But before I begin, allow me to extend warm appreciation to our honored guests and our fellow policymakers from across the continent. Madam Speaker, today my opponents are desiring for Africans to gather under one currency. A noble dream perhaps, but dreams, my friends, must be weighed before they are won. Now, Madam Speaker, imagine if every bird in the African sky were told they must sing the same song. From the mighty eagle soaring over the savannas of Kenya to the humming darting bird darting through the forests of Congo. Would that melody not lose its magic? Would that not be silencing rather than unifying? My opponent on the other side of the house will say sharing one currency means easier trade, cheaper imports, and more investors. Mr. Speaker, also, I know my fellow opponents will say a single currency might make it easier to import and export solar panels from Egypt or negotiate a power deal with Ghana without worrying about exchange rates. That's Honorable Speaker. It's only one side of the coin, and in our case, one side of the current. Let's flip the switch because I strongly believe that sharing one currency means more harm than harmony, especially for the energy sector. Firstly, a single currency will mean loss of control of currency. If I, the honorable deputy minister of energy in Ghana, need to fund a hydropower dam or subsidize electricity for poor villages, I can't adjust interest rates. I can't stabilize fuel prices. I'll be forced to sit and wait whilst a central bank in another country decides what's best, not for us, but for everyone. And let's be real, everyone's needs are not the same. Secondly, energy isn't the one size fits all. Nigeria has oil, Kenya has wind. Should we all pay the same price for power? Should we accept the same rules? That's like asking a bird and a fish to climb the same tree.
Madam Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, panel of judges, distinguished delegates, co-debaters, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and citizens around the world. I, Honorable Rika Keita Donko, Minister of Education, stand with the opposition side of the House to speak against the motion that says Africa should have one currency for trade. At first glance, having a single currency may sound attractive. It promises unity and simplified trade, and I welcome a robust discussion on this proposition. But, Mr. Speaker, let us not be deceived by appearance. Beneath this glittering surface appearance lies a deep pit of danger in impracticality for Africa. Honorable Speaker, as the Minister of Education, my primary concern is the potential impact this policy will have on the educational sector. While I understand the potential benefits of a single currency, such as increased economic integration and reduced transaction costs, which I know my opponents will go on and on about, I, Mr. Speaker, fear that it could have unintended consequences on the educational system. Madam Speaker, permit me to elaborate this proposition in the next 3 minutes. The introduction of a single currency might have a potential impact on educational budgets. A single currency could limit the ability of our countries to implement monetary policies that address their specific economic needs. This could lead to reduced government revenue, decreased funding for education, and potentially even school closures. We cannot afford to compromise the future of our children by underfunding our education system. It could also have an impact on scholarships and financial aids. Madam Speaker, with limited monetary policy flexibility, governments might struggle to provide scholarships or financial aids to poor but brilliant students, potentially reducing access to education for less privileged students. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, a single currency could lead to inflation if not managed properly, thereby reducing the purchasing power of students and their families and making it harder for them to afford educational materials, transportation, and other necessities. Madam Speaker, my opponents may argue about the economic benefits of a single currency, but have they stopped to ponder over the possibilities of a single currency leading to economic instability or reduced government revenue? I guess not. Madam Speaker, this instability could result in decreased funding for education, potentially affecting students' resources, teachers' salaries, and infrastructure, and that is non-negotiable. I urge my fellow ministers and stakeholders to exercise caution and consult widely with education stakeholders, including teachers, parents, and students. We need to carefully consider the potential impact of a single currency on our educational system and ensure that any policy
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Afifa Audu Kasinga, the Deputy Minister for Education, and I strongly and firmly stand for the motion that African countries need a single currency for trading. The idea of a single currency in Africa has sparked intense debate among economics and policymakers, and I am here today to air my views that it is indeed important for all African countries to have a single currency. Madam Speaker, a single currency would enable government to allocate more resources to education from African countries. This will improve the quality of education in institutions and increase access to education for all people in Africa. Also, Madam Speaker, my next point is to argue on the point that the opposing side, the Deputy Minister for Finance, raised that a single currency might not be suitable for all African countries, given their diverse economic conditions. However, a single currency could promote economic integrity. A regional monetary policy could be designed to take into account the unique economic conditions of individual countries. Convenience criteria can also be taken to make sure that all African countries which are not able to meet the criteria shouldn't join for the single currency plan. Madam Speaker, with all my points listed, I hope it is convincing enough for the House that a single currency is indeed important for Africa. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. I stand once again as Honorable Nkunimdifo Obriejekum, the Proud Minister of Health, to support the motion that Africa should use one currency for other countries to trade in. My first point is faster delivery of medicines and health equipment. Right now, one of the biggest problems we face in health is delay in getting important medicine and equipment. These delays happen because of currency exchange, bank issues, and extra charges. But if Africa countries use the same money, we won't have these problems. Hospitals can quickly buy medicines, PPE, and equipment from other African countries without delay. For example, if Ghana needs malaria drugs urgently and Senegal has extra, they can send it quickly without worrying about changing money. That can save lives. 2. Better teamwork between countries. When African countries use the same currency, it's easier for us to work together. We can join hands to fight diseases, run run programs, and help each other during emergencies like Ebola or COVID-19. Thirdly, cheaper healthcare. Changing money from one country to another add extra costs. These extra costs are added to price of medicine and services. With one currency, we avoid these costs, and that means healthcare becomes cheaper and everyone, especially for those in poor or rural areas. Lastly, quick help in health emergencies. In health emergencies, time is very important. A delay of just a few hours can cost lives. With one currency, African countries can send support quickly without waiting to change money or deal with bank issues. Madam Speaker, this is more than just about money. It's about saving life. It's about the mother in a village who can't buy medicine for her child because it's too expensive. I, Honorable Nkunimdifo Obriejekum, fully supports the motion that Africa should have one currency for all countries to trade with. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members of Parliament, panel of judges, fellow debaters, invited guests, fellow students, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Honorable Anayamicha Boateng, your Deputy Minister of Health. I am here today to strongly oppose the motion that says Africa should have one currency for trade. Madam Speaker, while the idea may seem appealing from an economic standpoint, it overlooks critical health and socio-economic implications that could adversely affect our continent. Firstly, a single currency would inevitably lead to a one-size-fits-all monetary policy. Given the vast differences in healthcare systems, economic development, and public health challenges across African nations, this approach will severely limit our ability to respond effectively to health crises. For instance, during pandemics, countries with more robust healthcare infrastructure could require different fiscal policies compared to those struggling with underfunded systems. Secondly, adopting a single currency could aggravate existing health inequalities. Poor nations might find themselves disproportionately affected by inflation or deflation, driven by the economic conditions of more dominant economies. This could lead to reduced government spending on healthcare, worsening access to essential services and medicines for vulnerable populations. In countries where healthcare budgets are already strained, any reduction in funding could have devastating consequences for public health. Again, if wealthier countries offer better opportunities and working conditions, we risk losing more healthcare professionals to these nations, further weakening already understaffed health systems in affluent countries. This migration could undermine efforts to improve healthcare delivery across the continent. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, while economic integration and cooperation are vital for Africa's development, a single currency is not the panacea my opponent makes it out to be. The potential risks to our healthcare systems, economic flexibility, and ability to respond to public health emergencies are too great to ignore. I urge my fellow parliamentarians to consider the broader implications and prioritize the health and well-being of our citizens. Let us focus on strengthening our healthcare systems, economic resilience before embarking on such a monumental and risky endeavor. Madam Speaker, may you live long. I thank you. Madam Speaker, fellow ministers, respected guests, I am Honorable Albani Abela Bonsa, Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry. I rise today with unwavering conviction to speak for the motion that all African countries should use one currency. Madam Speaker, We all know that Africa is rich in gold, cocoa, oil, fruits, and hard-working people, but trading with one another is still too hard. Why? Because we use too many different currencies. It's like trying to play a football game where each player is using a different ball. There's confusion, delay, and no real progress. To avoid this delay and confusion, all African countries should choose one currency. This brings easy shopping across Africa. No more extra charges. It makes Africa stronger. Last but not least, it attracts more investment. As the Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, I believe we should make trading easier, cheaper, and faster. Let's turn 54 countries into one big, powerful trading family. Let history remember the time as moments when Ghana stood together, traded together, and rose together. Let's say yes to one currency and yes to one Africa. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, honorable members, distinguished guests, fellow debaters, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Honorable Jaden Kwafu Ejakwa, Minister for Trade and Industry. I am happy to speak on the topic, should Africa have one currency to trade with? Money serves several purposes in our lives and societies. It acts as a medium of exchange, allowing us to trade goods and services with others. Money can be saved and stored for future use, providing a way to accumulate wealth and plan for the future. Having a sufficient amount of money can protect individuals and families from poverty, ensuring access to basic needs like food, shelter, and health care. Honorable Speaker, with over 50 countries and more than 40 different currencies in Africa, trading across borders can be complicated and expensive. So the big question is, would having just one African currency help or hurt our continent? I am against the motion due to the fact that Africa has huge economic differences. African countries are at very different levels of development, and a shared currency might not serve everyone equally. Right, Honorable Speaker. In addition, there is the risk of shared failure. If one country's economy collapses, the whole system could suffer. Industries dependent on exports may struggle during global shocks. There is also the risk of political disagreements. Trust and cooperation between African leaders are still developing. My fellow debaters, countries will no longer be able to make independent financial decisions like printing money or setting interest rates. Countries with stronger economies may dominate or benefit than weaker ones. Example, if a wealthy country faces inflation, raising interest rates may hurt a poorer country that needs cheaper loans for its industries. Honorable members of the House, let's take a look at the euro in Europe. The euro helped countries like Germany and France trade more easily. But during the financial crisis, countries like Greece struggled and dragged down the rest of the group. A single currency only works if countries are economically and politically aligned. Madam Speaker, before adopting one currency, Africa needs to strengthen regional trade groups like ECOWAS and East African Community. Africa needs to build central institutions and manage a shared currency and align key economic indicators like inflation and interest rates. Madam Speaker, fellow debaters, ladies and gentlemen, there are other smart steps Africa can take instead of jumping to one currency. Africa must use regional currencies like the proposed ECO in West Africa. Africa must promote digital trade platforms that make currency conversion easier and support systems like Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, PAPS, which already allows cross-border payments in local currencies. My fellow debaters, in conclusion, having one African currency could bring major benefits: cheaper trade, more unity and economic strength. But we must be realistic. Africa's economic differences and political divisions are major challenges. So the best path forward is to start small, build strong regional economies and financial system. Then maybe one day a common African currency can become a reality. Madam Speaker, may you live long. I rest my case. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. I am Honorable Christos Mensah Huwai, the Minister of Agricultural Development. Africa has over 50 countries which use different currency. Below are my reasons why I would like Africa to join and use one currency. A single currency will eliminate currency exchange barriers. Farmers and agribusinesses would no longer face high transaction costs when trading across borders. Smooth cross-border trade of seeds, fertilizers and machinery due to no exchange rate fluctuations. Secondly, it will enhance intra-African trade. African Continental Free Trade Area, making it easier for farmers to sell products across Africa without worrying about different currencies. Reduce dependency on imports from outside Africa, promoting local agro-processing industries. A single African currency could revolutionize agriculture by cutting costs, improving trade, and boosting food security. That is if managed well. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Let's hear from the Honorable Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture.
Madam Speaker, esteemed judges, honorable members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, good day to you all. I, Honorable Caris Ajemfra, your Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture, would like to speak on the topic, should Africa have just one currency to trade with? And I speak against the motion. Well, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, it may sound like a good idea for Africa to have the same currency to trade with. While the ambition to unify Africa under one currency is inspiring, as a Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture, I must weigh that vision against the complex realities of our continent's agricultural landscape. I know my opponents might say that one currency might lead to easier trade and stronger economies. I will say otherwise because there are many reasons why this ideology would be very difficult and harmful. Kindly bear with me as I explain them clearly in points. First and foremost, a reduction in monetary sovereignty, which implies countries will give up control over interest rates and currency valuations. Secondly, diverse agricultural economies in Africa. That is, honorable members, crops, farming methods and climates vary greatly throughout Africa. Lastly, furthermore, a common currency cannot be supported in many nations due to lack of strong governance and regulatory frameworks. Mr. Speaker, due to trade imbalance and political tensions in Africa, a unified currency may, albeit, favor dominant exporters of agricultural goods. As an agricultural minister, I must ask, how would farmers access credit if central banking becomes less responsive to local needs? Could regional food crises be worsened if monetary tools are no longer locally controlled? What safeguards would ensure that rural voices are heard in continent-wide financial decisions? In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the dream of a single currency must not eclipse the need for flexible, locally responsive policies, especially in agriculture, where one bad season can tip millions into hunger. Unity is noble, but not if it comes at the cost of food sovereignty. Once again, I am Honorable Caris Ajemfra, your Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture. Thanks for your audience.
Honorable members, let us hear from the Minister of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development.
Madam Speaker, fellow honorable ministers, I am Honorable John Elam Davo, Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development. Madam Speaker, today I rise to speak for a big and powerful idea that all African countries should use one currency for trade. This means whether you are in Ghana, Egypt or Kenya, the same money will be used to buy and sell. First, it makes trade easier. If a shop in Ghana wants to buy goods from a factory in Tanzania, they can pay using the same money. No need to change currencies, no extra charges, no confusion. Again, this will attract investors and tourists. When the rest of the world sees that Africa is trading with one currency, they can take us more seriously. And more business means more trade for our jobs, more trade for our youth, including our brilliant young children listening today. Africa is ready for this. The time is now. Let us build a stronger Africa today for a better future. Thank you. My code is YP57.
No confusion indeed. Honorable members, let us hear from the Honorable Deputy Minister of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Greetings to all my fellow ministers and friends. I am Honorable Yamizu Kwamnan Segu, Minister of Roads and Highways. I am proudly to stand for the motion that says Africa should have one currency for all African countries to trade in. Madam Speaker, why do I say this? 1. It makes trade easier. Right now, every African country has its own currency. But if we use one currency, we will not need to change money when we trade or travel. It saves time and makes businesses faster, like good roads do. Secondly, stronger together. When African countries use the same money, it shows unity. Just like roads connect towns, one currency can connect all of Africa. Thirdly, it helps the economy grow. If we trade with one currency, there will be less confusion. Businesses can plan better. People can buy and sell more easily. That means more jobs, better roads, and better lives. Fourthly, it makes traveling easier. As a Minister of Roads and Highways, I say one currency helps travelers. Imagine driving from Ghana to Kenya, and you do not have to stop to change money. That's a smooth journey. Madam Speaker, Africa is one big family. If we can trade with one voice, one vision, and one currency, our Africa will rise and shine together. Let us all stand united. Just like our roads must be connected, let us support one African currency and build a better future for us all. Thank you. Madam Speaker, honorable members, panel of judges, distinguished guests, parents, teachers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I, Honorable Awojan, Minister of Roads and Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways, rise to speak against the motion that says Africa must have one currency. Africa must have one currency may sound nice and united, but when we look closely, especially from the perspectives of our roads, transport and infrastructure, we can see that this decision will bring more problems than benefits. First, Madam Speaker, using one currency as a continent will be detrimental due to the unequal standards of our roads across the 54 countries on the continent. Some countries have smooth highways, while others have bad and unsafe roads. Madam Speaker, I know my opponents will agree that having one currency as a continent will make trade easier between African countries. Madam Speaker, without strong roads, how will we transport goods even if the money is the same? If we use one currency, Madam Speaker, it may force countries with poor roads to match standards of richer ones, but without enough money to do so. Madam Speaker, that will slow down development in many countries.
Madam Speaker, our roads are still under construction, and we cannot rush into one currency when our roads are not yet ready. Secondly, having the same currency as a continent will affect road projects. Madam Speaker, as we all know, road construction is paid for with government's money. If Africa uses one currency, we will lose control over how much we can spend on our roads. We cannot set the right price or pace for our local materials easily if another country decides on how much the currency is wealthy. This will delay projects and affect our road workers, contractors and suppliers in every country. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, as a Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways, I care about how roads connect people, grow businesses and develop nations. But one African currency will limit our ability to plan, build and improve our roads. Madam Speaker, we can still work together as African nations, but we don't need one currency to do so. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, eminent panel of judges, distinguished guests, fellow debaters, students, ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you all. I am Honorable Genesis Asegopine, Minister of Transport. I stand here today to proudly speak against the motion, should Africa have one currency to trade? Madam Speaker, even though this idea may look good on paper, it can cause more harm than good, especially to the transport sector. Firstly, Madam Speaker, using one currency will be problematic because Africa as a continent is made up of different countries, with each country having different economies, transport infrastructure, and development levels. Madam Speaker, some countries like South Africa have advanced transport systems, whilst others are still building basic roads. If we all use the same currency, countries with strong economies may suffer losses, whilst weaker ones may benefit unfairly. This imbalance can lead to conflict and poor cooperation among transport ministries across the continent. Secondly, creating a single currency will bring about pricing challenges and increasement in transportation costs. Madam Speaker, each African country sets its own transport prices based on local currency, fuel costs, and inflation. With one currency, price control will become difficult. For example, how will we set fair transport traffic for cross-border buses or airlines when one currency may confuse travelers, increase prices, and slow down transportation business? Lastly, using one currency will incur infrastructure and investment problems. As the Minister of Transport, I know we need foreign and local investments to build roads, bridges, and stations. When we have our own currency, we can make decisions quickly to get support or loans. But if there is one currency, all countries will have to wait for approval from a Central African bank. This will slow down development. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, I believe that Africa should not have one currency. It will cause problems in transport, slow down development, and take power away from each country. Let us work together as Africans, but allow each country to keep its own currency and grow at its own pace. Thank you. Good day, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed panel of judges, Madam Speaker, distinguished guests, members of Parliament. My name is Honorable Daisy Ase Asamani. As the Deputy Minister of Transport, I highly stand for the motion. Africa must adopt a single currency for intra-African trade. Imagine this, when our Ghana tomatoes travel to Nigeria, we have to change money. Then, if they go to South Africa, we have to change money again before trading. But Europeans use one currency to trade, which makes them more united, richer, and stronger. Madam Speaker, with one currency system, our goods can be transported to all African countries smoothly and making them cheaper for everyone. Our businesses could grow faster, creating more jobs for our parents and making Africa stronger and wealthier. It means more playgrounds, better schools, and brighter future for all of us. It's time we build one big, fast highway for our money. Thank you.
Distinguished judges, honorable members of parliament, ladies and gentlemen, good day. I, Honorable Michaela Akfiatobaru, Minister of Work and Housing, stand with the opposition side of the House to strongly oppose the motion that Africa should adopt a single currency. Madam Speaker, adopting a single currency could lead to changes in interest rates and economic conditions, potentially affecting housing affordability and demand. And this, Honorable Speaker, can have consequences on citizens in each African country. Again, providing targeted support to vulnerable populations, such as subsidies or affordable housing programs, could help mitigate the impact of a single currency on housing affordability. Furthermore, having one currency will bring about problems of legal power struggles over one continent. Madam Speaker, if Africans were to adopt one currency, it would require a Central African Bank or monetary authority. But the question is, who will host it? Who appoints the government? Madam Speaker, last but not least, the burden of legal transition and implementation will be another enormous problem to us as a continent. If we are to use one currency, Honorable Speaker, to adopt one currency, every African country will need to pass new laws and repeal existing financial legislation, train lawyers, judges, bankers, and citizens on new currency rules, as well as harmonize tax laws, trade agreements, and criminal codes. My dear opponents, I believe this process will take years, cost billions, and trade already underfunded housing systems. Madam Speaker, even the East African community, with just 6 countries, has delayed implementation of their single currency plan for over a decade, largely due to illegal and institutional challenges. Madam Speaker, investing in infrastructure development, such as roads, bridges, and public transportation could help improve access to housing and other essential services. Hence, I suggest this August House that take a conscious decision, not on dreams, but on realities. Madam Speaker, may you live long. Once again, I am Honorable Michaela Akfiatobaru, Minister of Works and Housing. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Elijah Adolfo-Chima. YP69 is my code. I rise to speak for the motion that all African countries should have one currency to trade on. Madam Speaker, as we all know, a currency is a medium of exchange. Having one currency for all African countries means that giving all citizens of Africa one medium of exchange. With this medium, Africa can value their goods and services equally and equitably. Madam Speaker, as the Deputy Minister of Works and Housing, I see how the exchange makes businessmen and women lose part of their investments. Using one currency on the African continent will be very useful. Thank you. Madam Speaker, may you live long. I am Honorable Nanefua Asofra Mensah, Minister for Communication and Digitalization. I stand for the motion that Africa must have one currency. First, it will make trade and digital payments across African countries easier and faster. No more changing cedis to naira or shillings to rands. With one currency, mobile money, online shopping, and cross-border business will become smoother and cheaper. Second, it will strengthen Africa's digital economies. One currency would allow tech companies to build apps and platforms that work across the whole continent, helping us to grow together in technology and innovation. In conclusion, one currency means one united Africa. And I end this with when Africa speaks the same digital language, we rise together, we trade together, and we win together. My code is YP78. Please remember to vote for me. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, esteemed panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, distinguished guests, teachers, parents, students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am Honorable Rex Angelonia Krashnunu, and I stand there as the Deputy Minister of Communication and Digitalization to speak against the idea that Africa must have one currency. Madam Speaker, let me first begin by acknowledging the noble intentions behind the idea of a single African currency: economic unity, easier trade, and simplified transactions. Considering the vast benefits this anticipated idea may bring, we must never replace idealism with realism. As someone deeply concerned with digital infrastructure, cybersecurity, and communication networks, I say Africa is not ready. First and foremost, Africa cannot have a single currency because many African countries do not have strong internet and digital systems. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, a single currency can only succeed with efficient, secure, and inclusive digital systems. However, many African countries still suffer from weak internet penetration, weak digital identity systems, and limited access to modern bank services. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, how can we implement and sustain a single digital or electronic currency when millions of citizens have no internet access, no smartphones, or lack basic digital literacy? According to the World Bank, only 36% of Africans use internet regularly. That is not enough to support a single share currency, especially if it depends on digital use. Secondly, using one currency as a continent will increase the risk of cybersecurity. As the Deputy Minister of Communication and Digitalization, I must stress the serious cybersecurity threat a single currency poses. Madam Speaker, using one currency with one centralized financial system across 54 diverse nations will create a value target for cyber criminals. A single cyber attack can crash the entire system, which will affect the entire continent. If this happens, banks will collapse, businesses will halt, and citizens will lose trust. Since many African countries do not have strong and unified cybersecurity framework, a single currency will be a disaster waiting to happen. Last but not the least, having a single currency as a continent will be catastrophic due to the uneven technological development across the continent. Madam Speaker, technology is not equal in all countries. Some African countries have advanced fintech sectors, mobile money platforms, and smart payment services. Others do not. For example, Ghana may be progressing in digitizing services, but what about the fragile states where communication networks are unstable or where there's no regulatory structure for digital finance? Madam Speaker, using one currency across all countries will force technologically weaker countries to catch up quickly, leading to confusion, inefficiency, and mistrust. To end my submission, I would say, Madam Speaker, Africa's strength lies in its diversity and innovation, but not in forcing all the African countries into a digital financial structure they are not ready for. Let us not race towards a vision that would digitally divide, destabilize, and disappoint. Madam Speaker, panel of judges, thank you for your time.
Long live Madam Speaker. Good day, Madam Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I humbly welcome you all to this gathering, and I am Honorable Godfrey Afeni, Minister for Information. I proudly stand here today to support a smart idea that all countries in Africa should use one currency for trade. Let me ask a simple question. Why should something so important like trading between African countries be so difficult? We all live on the same continent. We share many things. Our music, our food, our dream. So why not share the same money too? That That's why I proudly stand here to say yes. All African countries should use one currency for trade.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, panel of judges, co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen, good day. I, Stiri Obutamnogati, the Interior Minister, stand before this House to speak against the motion that Africa should have one currency for trade. One money for all African countries. Easy, right? But if we look closely, it's a very risky and bad idea for Africa, especially from the perspective of the Ministry of the Interior. Madam Speaker, with your kind permission, I will take 3 minutes of your time to educate this August House on my proposition. Honorable Speaker, as the Interior Minister with a primary responsibility for maintaining internal security, law and order, I am of the view that adopting one currency for all will raise political tension and corruption across individual countries. Madam Speaker, if a single currency is instituted, who will control the central bank of this new currency? Will it be based in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, or South Africa? This decision alone will create political tensions and distrust. Honorable members, Africa already struggles with implementing the African Continental Free Trade Area. Adding currency control will only intensify division. And let us not forget the issue of corruption. Secondly, using one currency as a continent will increase the rates of financial crime. Madam Speaker, a single currency system will require uniform anti-money laundering laws, shared financial crime databases, and coordinated cybercrime enforcement. But many African countries still lack the digital infrastructure to track financial crimes. According to the United Nations Office of Drug and Crime, Africa loses $88.6 billion a year in illicit financial flows due to weak legal enforcement across borders. Madam Speaker, choosing one currency could make it even easier for criminals to move illegal funds across countries undetected. Madam Speaker, even though my opponent will say, which I know they will, that sharing one currency would eliminate the need for currency exchange in trade, reduce transaction costs, simplify business between African countries, and perhaps also symbolize unity, that shining dream of Pan-Africanism. Yes, these benefits whisper faith and hope, but whispers, honorable members, can fade. So I, Honorable Stiringate, from the opposition side of the House, strongly believe that unity is important, but not at the expense of economic disaster. A single currency may sound like a dream, but it is a dangerous dream that could become a nightmare for Africa. Right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you for your time.
Honorable members and dear young friends, my name is Honorable Kofi Nsenchene Sumedue Japan, Deputy Minister of Interior, and today I want to speak about something very exciting. Madam Speaker, I stand for the motion that all countries in Africa should use the same currency for trading. Should use the same currency for trading. Let me explain why this is a smart and helpful idea. First of all, one money makes life easier. Imagine every child in your school have their own type of play money. Kwame has red coins, Zainab uses purple notes, and Amina has green ones. Now, if they want to buy snacks from each other, they always need to swap to count and ask, how many red coins is this worth? But what if they all use the same money? then buying and sharing will be faster and easier. That's what one African currency can do to make life easier when people in different countries want to buy or sell something. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Ariana Bubunak Pabla, Minister for Defense. I come today to talk about an important idea for Africa. All the countries in Africa will use the same kind of money when they buy and sell things. This is like when a family shares one big money jar instead of each member having separate coins. Madam Speaker, with one currency, trading will be easy and faster for everyone. It will make our countries feel like one big team. Also, there is stability and confidence. In conclusion, the dream of a single African currency is not far-fetched. It is achievable and it is necessary. Let us break down the borders that divide us and build bridges that unite our markets. One Africa, one currency. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, honorable members of the House, I, Honorable Francis Aiti, Minister of Justice and Attorney, I firmly stand to support the motion that all African countries should use one currency to trade. I will present some key reasons why I will present two key reasons to support the motion. One, it will boost intra-African trade and economic unity. Using one common currency across Africa will eliminate the need for currency exchange between countries. This will remove trade barriers, reduce transaction costs, and simplify the pricing of goods and services. Secondly, it will strengthen Africans' economic power and global influence. A unified currency will increase Africa's bargaining power on the global stage. It will stabilize exchange rates within the continent and reduce dependency on foreign currencies like the US dollar or the euro. With a strategy, African currency, we can protect our economies from external shocks and inflation caused by foreign currencies. This will attract more investments and give African nations a stronger collective voice in global financial institutions. In conclusion, I hope these points raised will convince one to support the fact that African countries should trade on one currency. Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished panel of judges, my fellow ministers, esteemed opposition, teachers, parents, members of the House, and ladies and gentlemen. I am Honorable Janice Asseyi Kwashi, Deputy Minister of Justice and Attorney, and I rise today to strongly oppose the motion that Africa should have one currency for all Africans. Madam Speaker, Africa, like other continents in the world, is fixing its sights on creating a common currency. Already, there are projects for regional monetary unions, and the bidding process for an eventual African Central Bank is about to begin. But is it worth the effort, and will it provide an important solution to Africa's problems? While the idea may sound noble and unifying, I stand before you today to review the serious legal and constitutional law that such a move will pose to the very foundation of African democracy. First and foremost, having one currency as a continent will pose a threat to national sovereignty and constitutional law. Honorable Speaker, every African country operates under a unique constitution and legal system, which gives it the power to control its currency, manage its economy, and protect its people. Therefore, introducing a single currency would override national constitutions. Again, adopting one currency will not be feasible due to complex legal conflicts across borders. As a Deputy Minister of Justice, I am concerned about the unresolved legal differences across African countries. We have different contract laws, varying banking regulations, different systems of debt recovery, consumer protection, and fraud enforcement. Madam Speaker, if a single currency is introduced, who settles cross-border legal disputes? What happens when a bank in Zambia defaults on a payment owed to a business in Ghana? Will a court in Nigeria have the power to enforce release in Ethiopia? Madam Speaker, this will open floodgates to legal confusion, delays, and injustice for citizens and businesses. Honorable judges, this proposal may sound like progress, but as a Deputy Minister of Justice, I must emphasize that you can't build one currency on a continent where the law is not yet one, the courts are not yet unified, and justice is not yet equal. Let us first harmonize our legal systems, strengthen judicial cooperation, and ensure fairness in law. Only then, and not before, can we begin to dream of one African currency. I therefore urge this noble House to stand with me and vote against the motion. Right Honorable Speaker, I rest my case. Thank you.
Good day, Madam Speaker. May you live long. My name is Honorable Aisha Mero Zakari, the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. I hereby stand for the motion. The issue on board is, should all Africans use one currency? Yes, all African countries should use one currency. Madam Speaker, imagine a continent where we all trade and commerce freely without the barriers of multiple currencies. When Africans use one currency, it unlocks economic growth, integration, and prosperity. Trade is the lifeblood of economy. When we all use one currency, it helps promote economic growth and prosperity. When Africans use one currency, it helps promote economic integration among African countries. It would foster cooperation, reduce trade barriers, and create a more unified economic growth. In conclusion, using one currency helps to unlock economic growth, integration, and prosperity. Let us all use one currency to help unlock all these achievements. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. I am Honorable Hanan Mohammed, Minister for Employment and Labor Relations. In that order, I stand for the motion that a single African currency would help boost trade, increase economic cooperation among African unions, members, and stimulate faster development across the continent. Madam Speaker, I also believe that there are huge opportunities to save transaction costs that would in turn make African firms more competitive and trade with each other. Madam Speaker, for decades, African states have traded both within the continent and with international partners with foreign currencies, namely the US dollars, the euro, and to the lesser extent, the British pounds. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, if Africa should have one currency for all African countries to trade on, it will help boost trade, increase economic cooperation among African countries. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, my name is Honorable Desmond Mauli, Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour Relations. Today, I stand for the motion why all African countries should have and trade on one currency. Madam Speaker, currently, many businesses in Africa face multiple currency conversions, exchange rate fluctuations, and associated fees. I believe with the introduction of a single currency, cross-border trade will be significantly cheaper and simpler. Madam Speaker, a single currency would reduce barriers and increase ease of doing businesses. Intra-African trade is expected to surge. As trade grows, so does demands of goods and services. Madam Speaker, businesses would expand to meet their increased demands, requiring more workers in industries, logistics, marketing, and various services. Madam Speaker, as the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, I believe it with a single currency, many small and medium enterprises would often find it easier to access regional marketing, fostering their growth and job creation potentials. Madam Speaker, to conclude, with all my points raised so far, I believe one will not hesitate to agree with me that all African countries should have and trade on one currency. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, future leaders of Africa, I am Honorable Jocelyn Nala Leotu, Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. I am speaking for the motion that all African countries must use one currency. Madam Speaker, the benefits of having one currency are plenty. For instance, Madam Speaker, the use of one currency shall become a symbol of oneness and unity. Also, the use of one currency shall foster better trade and economic activity. Madam Speaker, I want everyone to understand that having one currency for the African continent will be one of the most beautiful things that can ever happen to the African continent. All Africans can buy and sell without any barrier or restriction. Madam Speaker, I want my honorable members on the other side to know that supporting the use of one currency for African countries is an economic freedom and African unity. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. I'm in the person of Honorable Dropenu Emerald Sefako, the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. I would like to add my voice to the ongoing discussion why Africa should use one currency for trade. Below are some reasons why I would like Africa to use one currency. To begin with, it will improve monetary policy coordination. It will facilitate better coordination of monetary policy among African countries, leading to more effective management of economic cycles and crises. Secondly, it will enhance financial markets. A common currency will lead to the development of more sophisticated financial markets in Africa, fostering greater economic growth and stability. In conclusion, remember that united we stand, divided we fall, and also remember that Africa, it will offer several advantages to Africa. I rest my case. Thank you.
May you live long. Madam Speaker, my name is Honorable Grace Nokiaiku, Deputy Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, fully in support of the motion. African countries should use one currency in trading. Madam Speaker, let me ask you this. Why should a mother in Ghana struggle to buy affordable rice from Nigeria just because our currencies are different? Why should a young girl in Togo drop out of school because imported books from Kenya are too expensive? Ladies and gentlemen, one currency is not just about money. It's about making life easier for families, creating fair opportunities, and building a better and united Africa. Madam Speaker, Let me give you two strong reasons. Madam Speaker, one currency will reduce prices and protect the poor. Currently, when African countries trade, they change their currencies. This costs extra fees, wastes time, and raises the prices of goods. With one currency, these problems disappear. That means there will be cheaper food for families, affordable school supplies for children, and more savings for parents. Madam Speaker, this is not theory, it's real life. Poor families feel the pain of high costs the most. One currency can protect them. Madam Speaker, one currency builds unity and peace. We are Africans, one destiny. We are Africans, one people with one destiny. If we can trade with one voice, we can learn to plan together and also solve problems together. The European Union did it. They created the euro. If Europe can unite, why can't Africa? We already have the African Continental Free Trade Area. One currency is the next step. Some may argue that it's too difficult or that we are not ready. But if I ask, when will we be ready if we never start? Africa's children are waiting. Our mothers are tired of struggling. We owe them action, not excuses. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, an African currency is not a financial decision. It's a social decision or a family decision. Let us unite our money so we can support and protect our people. I support this motion because I believe in a stronger, fairer and more united Africa where children dream, women thrive, and no one is left behind. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I'm Honorable Gabriel Tram, the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, and I stand in for the motion. I strongly argue that Africa should use one currency. Madam Speaker, if Africa should adopt a single currency for trading, a unified currency would eliminate exchange rate barriers, facilitating smoother trade across borders. This would boost intra-African trade, economic integration, and investment, ultimately driving economic growth and development. Madam Speaker, furthermore, a single currency would reduce transaction costs, increase economic growth efficiency, and enhance monetary policy coordination. It will also promote economic stability and attract foreign investment, more united African economy. By adopting a single currency, Africa can unlock its vast economic potential and become a more significant player in the global economy. Madam Speaker, for me to conclude, I think adopting a single currency would be a strategic step toward economic growth and development in Africa. So let's work together to build a stronger and more prosperous Africa. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges and fellow debaters, I am Honorable Walali Afitam, the Deputy Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources. I stand before you today to argue in favor of adopting a single currency for all African countries. The benefits of adopting a single currency are numerous and can be a game changer for the African economy. Madam Speaker, a single currency will eliminate the complexities and costs associated with exchanging multiple currencies, making trade easier and more efficient. This will reduce transaction costs, increase economic integration, and boost intra-African trade. According to the African Development Bank,
The adoption of a single currency could increase intra-African trade by up to 30%. Madam Speaker, a single currency will promote economic stability and reduce inflation. With a single currency, monetary policy can be coordinated across the continent, reducing the risk of shocks and promoting stability. This will create a favorable business environment, attracting foreign investment and promoting growth. Madam Speaker, the adoption of a single currency for all African countries is a necessary step towards promoting economic integration, stability and growth. One currency for Africa, a key to unlocking economic growth. Madam Speaker, I end my case. Thank you. Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, my name is Honorable Precious Ayamba, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Today, I stand before you to add my submissions on the ongoing topic. I firmly and strongly stand for the motion that Africa should use a single currency. The reason being that a single currency would enhance economic integration. A common currency would facilitate trade and investment across borders, promoting economic integration. Madam Speaker, also, a single currency would reduce transaction costs, making trade more efficient and cost-effective. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, adopting a single currency would be a bold step towards Africa's economic development. I urge you all to support me all to support me and join me in envisioning a future where Africa speaks with one economic voice. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Jacqueline Miriam Tonokuni, your Minister of Environmental Science, Technology and Innovation. I am here to proudly speak for the motion. Yes, Africa should have one currency for all African countries to trade on. 1. Unity makes us stronger. Look, these are all countries in Africa. Right now, we use different currencies, cedis, naira, rand and francs. It's like each puzzle piece speaks a different language, but with one currency, there's no switching. That means more jobs, more businesses and more trading. 2. Easy trade and more jobs. Today, if a farmer in Ghana wants to buy tools from Nigeria, he has to change his money. It's confusing and expensive, but with one currency, there is no switching. That means more jobs, more businesses and more trading for African people, especially their youth. 3. Africa will be stronger. When we have one currency, we become one strong voice in the world. Other continents like Asia, America, Europe and others will respect and listen to Africa. And as the Minister of Environmental Science, Technology and Innovation, I know with one currency, we can combine our money together to build better schools, hospitals, and science labs. So, I ask you, my dear friends, do we want an Africa that is united? Do we want easy trade and more jobs? Do we want a stronger Africa for our future? Yes to one African currency. Yes to a stronger Africa. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I'm Honorable Miriam Akoto, the Minister of Tourism, and I stand in strong firm of the motion that Africa should have one currency for all African countries to trade on. Madam Speaker, here is why. 1. Enhance economic efficiency. A single currency will eliminate the complexities of costs associated with currency exchange, thereby streamlining and cost
thereby streamlining trade and investment. 2. Increase economic unity. By adopting a shared currency, African countries will demonstrate their commitment to economic integration, fostering a strong bloc that can compete more effectively in the global marketplace. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, the adoption of a single African currency will mark a significant milestone in a journey towards economic prosperity and cooperation. Madam Speaker, thank you for your time. Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Arian Seram Azaglu, YP66, a Deputy Minister of Tourism. Today, I stand before you to move the motion that Africa should have one currency to trade on. Madam Speaker, the African continent has 54 countries, and each of these countries have their own currencies, which makes trading among Africans difficult. Madam Speaker, as a Deputy Minister of Tourism, I move strongly that Africa should have a single currency. A single African currency is not only opposite, but will boost intra-African trade, make travel across borders easier, which will go a long way to unify and harmonize our continent. Tourists will no longer have to exchange money multiple times, which will minimize costs and break barriers. Madam Speaker, the African continent is rich in resources and diverse cultures. How can we fully benefit from these resources when different currencies are used for trading? Imagine traveling from one African country to another. That will mean you have to exchange money in each of these countries. When a single currency is used, our continent will grow and come stronger. Madam Speaker, let me end my submission with a quote from Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He said, "Africa must unite." He believed only a unified Africa could stand strong and independent. A single African currency is one step towards that dream and breaking down trade barriers. If we truly want to rise as one, then we must act as one, starting with our money. I support the motion. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Jolana Ponsah-Techua, standing confidently as the Minister of Sport and Youth. I rise to support the motion that Africa should have one currency for all African countries to trade on. I strongly believe that all African countries should have a single currency because, first, it simplifies trade. A single currency would eliminate the need for currency exchange, reducing transaction costs and complexities and making trade easier and more efficient among African countries. Second, economic integrations. A common currency would promote economic integration, cooperation, and unity among African nations, fostering a sense of shared economic destiny. By adopting a single currency, Africa can unlock its economic potential, promoting unity, and become a more attractive investment destination. In conclusion, adopting a single African currency for all African countries would be a strategic move towards economic integration, simplified trade, and increased investment. While there are potential challenges, the benefits of an unified currency could outweigh the drawbacks, promoting African unity, economic growth. Let us trade together, rise together, and grow together. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Sompa Intiamakwachi, the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development. Madam Speaker, imagine a continent of 1.4 billion people, not divided by borders and currencies, but united under one economic identity. A currency that is not vulnerable to the whims of the dollar or the euro. A currency that keeps our wealth rooted in an African soil. This vision is not a fantasy, but is the foundation of Africa's liberation. Today, I rise with an unwavering conviction and a deep sense of duty to proclaim Africa deserves one currency, and the time is now. Here are some reasons. 1. Economic unity and trade boost. A single African currency is not just a convenience, it is a weapon against economic fragmentation. Currently, only 15% of African trade happens in the continent, whilst Europe trades 70% within themselves. Why? Because our currencies are splintered by exchange rates, conversion losses, and monetary uncertainty. 2. African power and global influence. Madam Speaker, we must reclaim our economic sovereignty. A single African currency will liberate us from the dominance of foreign currencies that dictate our value and decisions. Let us not forget that Europe did it. The euro amplified their power. Now, it is Africans' turn to rise and speak as one, not in whispers, but with a loud and roaring economic voice. To sum up, Madam Speaker, this is not a policy discussion. It is a call to destiny. A single African currency is not just a revolution. It is a break from dependency and a blueprint from prosperity. Let us reclaim what is rightfully ours. We stand proud, firm, and resolute for the motion. All Africans should use one currency. Thank you.
Good day, Madam Speaker, and my fellow honorable members. I'm Honorable Kishana Shika Abe, your Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. I proudly stand for the motion, Africa should have a single currency. Let me tell you a quick story. Last Christmas, my uncle wanted to surprise me with a dress from Togo, but when he got to the border, he had to change Ghana cedis into CFA. He lost some money in the exchange, so he bought a smaller gift instead. That's when I asked myself, why can't Africa use one money? A single African currency, like the Afro, will help us buy and sell easily across countries. My uncle could buy my gift with the same money he uses in Ghana. That's fair and simple, because prices would be easy to compare. People could buy and sell freely without money barriers. As Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, I speak to people from many countries. Though we speak different languages, we all want peace, unity, and progress. A single currency will bring us closer. Europe uses the euro and they trade easily. Africa can do the same. With the Afro, traders to stop losing money at borders. Parents to pay for school or healthcare across countries without confusion. Madam Speaker, let's build an Africa where our money will bring us together, not tear us apart. We are not weak. We are wealthy in gold, cocoa, oil, culture, and talent. Now we need one strong currency to match our power. The Afro isn't just a coin or note. It's a step toward Africa's future. One money, one Africa, one dream. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Raquel Otuko Otute Blabo, the Minister for Railways Development. I stand for the motion that Africa should use a single currency. The adoption of a single currency would be a monumental step towards economic integration and corruption among African nations. By eliminating the need for currency exchange, we can reduce transaction costs, increase trade, and foster economic growth. A single currency would also promote stability and predictability, making it easier for investors and navigate the African market. This intent would attract more foreign investment, create jobs and stimulating economic development. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, a single currency for Africa would be a game changer for our continent. It would promote economic integration, stability, and growth. And I urge my fellow Africans to support this motion. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Mabel Washington, Minister for Aviation. Thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this important topic. Should Africa have one currency for all African countries to trade on? As Minister for Aviation, I strongly stand for the motion of having a single currency for intra-continental trade in Africa. Why a single currency? A unified African currency would be a significant step towards economic integration, independence, and prosperity. Here are 2 reasons. 1. Efficient aviation operation and tourism. A unified African currency will simplify transactions, reduce costs, and increase predictability in the aviation industry. This would lead to increased airline profits, competitiveness, and investment in airport infrastructure. 2. Strengthen continental integration. A common currency will symbolize unity and further build Africa's commitment to economic cooperation and shared goals as outlined in the African Continental Free Trade Area (AfCFTA). Here are some benefits of a single currency. 1. Boost aviation connectivity and trade. 2. Foster economic integration. 3. Simplify trade and commerce. 4. Attract foreign investors. 5. Promote price stability, which will drive Africa's growth and development. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I urge your support for the motion. A single currency would be a significant step towards more integration and a prosperous Africa. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, my name is Honorable Emmanuela Kese, the Deputy Minister of Aviation. I stand firmly in support of the motion that Africa should use one currency. A single continental currency could bring immense economic, political, and social benefits to
Hi everyone, I am Honorable Adom Dansa Oheneja, Minister for Planning. Today, I am going to talk about a big idea. What if all African countries use the same money, the same currency, to buy and sell things from each other? That sounds interesting, right? Let me tell you why it can help us. 1. Trading will be easier. Right now, each African country uses different money. Ghana uses cedi, Nigeria uses naira, and Kenya uses shillings. That makes it hard to trade. But if we all use the same money, we wouldn't have to change money all the time. Buying and selling will be faster and cheaper. 2. We can work together better. Using one currency can bring African countries closer. We will feel like one big family. Just like the European countries
using the euro. 3. Stronger together. When we stand together, we are stronger. A shared currency can help protect small African countries and make our continent more powerful in the world. But we must also plan well because we need to trust each other. Again, we need strong leaders and good rules. Lastly, we must make sure no country is left behind. As the Minister for Planning, I believe this dream is possible if we work hard and together. Let us plan for a future where Africa is united, rich in ideas, and ready to shine with one currency. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, my name is Honorable Skywoodin Adams, the Minister of Monitoring and Evaluation. I stand for the motion that all African countries should use one currency for trade. One currency can help us trade. People buy and sell without changing money. It saves money. It brings unity to Africa. It grows businesses. One currency can help us trade better. It's time to move together. One currency, one market, one future. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I'm Honorable Princess Abaji, the Minister of National Security. I stand here to firmly support the motion that adopting a single African currency would significantly enhance national security across the continent. I would love to highlight on 2 main points. 1. Cutting off criminal and terrorist financing. Multiple currencies create loopholes that criminals exploit to move money undetected. A single currency would enable centralized tracking of financial transitions, making it harder for groups like Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab to fund their activities. 2. Strengthening cross-border security cooperation. Sharing one currency would encourage African countries to coordinate security policies, share intelligence faster, and respond collectively to threats, closing gaps that criminals currently exploit. Madam Speaker, I conclude that as the Minister of National Security, a single currency would starve criminal network offense, unify security system, and build strong economics, thereby safeguarding the safety and freedom of all African nations. Madam Speaker, may your efforts be acknowledged for supporting the motion. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. I am Honorable Stephanie Agbovi, the Minister for Preschool Education. I am here to talk about the impact on the usage of one currency for all African countries on this ministry. Madam Speaker, the Ministry for Preschool Education is a government agency responsible for the development of policies, programs, and services for early childhood education, specifically for children aged 0 to 5 years. Madam Speaker, the ministry's primary goal is to provide a strong foundation for future learning, socialization, and development. Madam Speaker, the following are some of the reasons why I strongly agree on the usage of one currency for all African countries on this ministry. First and foremost, there will be increase in funding. Since this ministry focuses on future leaders,
Potential investors would like to invest since there will be no converting of one currency. Hence, there will be willingness to invest, which will help increase resource allocation, improve quality and accessibility of early childhood education. Secondly, Madam Speaker, regional collaboration will be enhanced if there is a usage of single currency among all African countries. This means knowledge sharing and coordination will be made easier. This will also enhance teacher training development and foster economic growth development. In summary, Madam Speaker, potential benefits of single currency among all African countries on this ministry are: 1. Increase access to quality education. 2. Improve infrastructure and resources. 3. Better coordination and standardization. My name is Stephanie Agbovi. My nominee code is YP72. Thank you.
Wow, it's been wonderful. I hope you have been enjoying yourself from the presentation from Minister of Finance to the defense and all that. You are really enjoying yourself, and I'm also enjoying myself here. I can't wait for Ghana to have one currency with maybe Rwanda, South Africa, and other African countries around. Or maybe you also have another reason why we should not have one currency. But these children are giving us more reasons why we should have or we should not have. We'll go for a short break. When we come back, we'll receive more from them.
Honorable members, welcome back from the break. We shall continue. Let's hear from the Honorable Deputy Minister of Preschool Education.
Madam Speaker, honorable members and my smart young friends, I am Honorable Faith Aye Addison, Minister for Preschool Education. Madam Speaker, imagine if every child in Africa had the same set of colorful crayons to draw their dreams. Wouldn't it be easier to create something beautiful together? I believe sharing one currency will help us trade, grow and shine together. As the Minister for Preschool Education, I care deeply about the future of our little learners, and one of the best ways to build a better future for them is to make trade across Africa simple, fair and strong. That is why I fully support this motion. All African countries should use one currency for trade. Let's connect to each other. Let's connect our market by using one currency. A better Africa awaits us. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Inshira Atambo, the Minister for Women in Technology, and today I speak in favor of the motion Africa should have one common currency to trade in for all African countries. I believe this is a smart idea, and here is why. Madam Speaker, having a common currency will make trading easier. Currently, when countries in Africa trade with each other, they use different types of currencies. That is confusing and expensive. If we just use one common currency, like a United African coin, trading will be faster and simpler. Madam Speaker, having a common currency will promote women-led businesses. As Minister for Women in Technology, I care about helping girls and women succeed. If we have one currency, women who run businesses like selling food, clothes, or making apps can trade with people in other African countries much more easily. That gives them more chances to shine. Madam Speaker,
One currency will make Africa stronger, smarter, and more united, just like one big team. We must make sure everyone joins fairly and no one is left behind. But if we work together, we can do it. Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Frederick Nkunim Osei Tutuansi, Minister for Sports for Primary Education. Madam Speaker, my nominee code is YP95. I stand for the motion that Africa must use one currency in trading. Madam Speaker, these are some true reasons why Africa must use one currency in trading. 1. As someone responsible for organizing tournaments and school activities across regions, I know how much effort it takes to move people, equipment, and resources across countries. Different currencies slow us down and increase costs. 2. A single African currency would reduce these burdens. Sporting goods could be imported without hidden charges. Travel for inter-schools competition would be smoother. Even our people will grow up with a better understanding of Africans' unity. In conclusion, more than that, a single currency encourages exchange programs, culture, partnership, and unity in our curriculum, especially for subjects like economics and trade. One Africa, one currency, one dream. I proudly stand for this motion why Africa must use one currency in trading. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I, Honorable Princess Batima Afuri, as a Minister for Small and Medium Enterprise, I stand for the motion that Africa should have one currency. 1. Boost trade among African countries. This would encourage economic growth and stronger business ties to the continent. 2. Promote economic unity and stability. Having one currency could help Africans work together. In conclusion, adopting a single currency would bring Africans many benefits. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, distinguished colleagues, and to all wonderful children listening in today. I am Honorable Gracelyn Insia, Minister for Landscape, and I stand against the motion Africa having one currency. While I admire the passion, especially for young minds like yours, our land tells us something very important. Africa has many unique places, like Ghana's rich farms and big forests. Each part is special and needs different help. One currency might not help all these local places fairly. It's like trying to make one blanket fit everyone in a very big family. It won't just be right for all. Our own money here in Ghana helps us take care of our local land. If our farms need help because of too much sand, we can use our money to fix it. Having just one big currency would make it harder to help our specific local places, like cleaning our rivers or saving our forests here in Ghana. Decisions must be made far away, not knowing what our land truly needs. Madam Speaker, we must respect how different and special every part of Africa is, for the good of our beautiful land and the people who depend on them. I ask this Parliament to vote against the idea of African single currency. Thank you.
Good day, Madam Speaker, honorable members gathered here today, respected guests. I am Honorable Obrimpong Echampong Kwache,
Minister for STEM Education. I stand today proudly to support the motion that Africa should use only one currency to trade. Right now in Africa, every country has its own kind of money. Ghana uses the cedi, Nigeria uses the naira, Kenya uses the shilling. Because of this, buying and selling between countries is not easy. People have to change their money before they can trade, and that takes time, effort, and extra cost. One currency means one strong Africa because Africa grows together. One currency means we are working as one big team, and when we work together, we succeed together. We make businesses grow and help and make life better for all. Good for the future. That one currency means children like you can grow in an Africa where trading is simple, good, and strong. That means more jobs, more food, and more smiles across the continent. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, distinguished colleagues, and to all the wonderful children listening in today. My name is Honorable Gracie Imsia, Minister for Pediatrics Affairs. It is my profound honor to present this motion. I firmly believe Africa should have one currency. This is vital for our children's health. Right now, trading across Africa is slow and expensive because of all our different currencies. A single currency would make Africa stronger on the global stage. We would have more power together, attracting more money to build better schools and hospitals. This creates a better future for every child. One currency would bring our nations closer. It helps us work as one, building a more stable and purposeless Africa. Imagine a continent where every child has an equal chance to play, learn, and succeed. This is a big step, but with careful planning, we can achieve this vision for the millions of children across Africa. I urge this Parliament to support this vital motion. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Jayla Korte, Minister for Procurement of Ghana. Madam Speaker, I am addressing the motion that the whole of Africa should use one currency. Madam Speaker, it is an honor to stand before this August House today to speak in a strong support of this visionary motion. Madam Speaker, the first reason why Africa must adopt a single currency is economic unity. A shared currency will break down trade barriers, boost commerce between our nations, and empower African businesses to compete globally. No more costly exchanges, no more delays, just seamless trade from Cape to Cairo. Madam Speaker, the second reason is strength in solidarity. A single currency will give Africa a strong voice in the global economy, instead of fragmented currencies that weaken our position. We can negotiate as one powerful bloc, attract better investment, and secure the people of the future. Madam Speaker, the time of division is over. Let us unite under one currency for prosperity, for progress, and the Africa we deserve. Madam Speaker, I urge this House to support the motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, honorable members and fellow citizens. I am Elsie Esther Annan, YP77, the Minister for Arts and Culture. I stand to support the motion that Africa should have one common currency. Mr. Speaker, I will give two reasons for my support. 1. Promoting unity through culture. Africa is full of rich culture, music and dance, fashion and languages. One common currency will help us grow stronger and more united. We will be able to celebrate our differences through culture, support one another and feel that we are all part of the same family. The second is easy trading. One common currency for Africa will help the trading of artistic goods and music very easy. There will be no need to change money before one can buy from another African country. This will bring more money to the traders and country at large. So, Madam Speaker, I believe that one common currency will not just make trading easy, but also it will make our art and culture more exciting and open to all Africans and the whole world. So let us rise with one voice and one currency. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, I am Honorable Charles Esiedu Danko Ofori. Madam Speaker, I stand in a firm support of the motion that Africa should have one currency because, firstly, a single currency will enhance trade and economic cooperation among African nations. It will eliminate the need of currency exchange, reduce transaction costs, and promote easier movement of goods and across borders. In conclusion, secondly, it will strengthen Africa's bargaining power on global stage. With one currency, the continent can present a united economic front, attract more foreign investment, and protect member states from global currency. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, members of Parliament, and fellow Ghanaians. I am Honorable Mame Pamai Tetega, Minister for Natural Disaster Management. I stand for the motion. Should Africa have one currency for all Africans to trade on? Madam Speaker, the early 1980s famine in Ghana was the severest natural disaster in our country's history. It was caused by droughts, economic difficulties, and political turmoil. The drought severely diminished crop production, reducing food supplies, which resulted in hunger. This drought coincided with bushfires that destroyed areas of cropland. Madam Speaker, during this period, Ghana encountered economic difficulties such as inflation, unemployment, and diminished agricultural production. As hunger intensified, the government pursued foreign assistance, and the world community offered aid, which took years to arrive. The famine emphasized the weakness of the nation's economic relationships with neighboring countries. A single currency for Africa would have enhanced disaster management. First and foremost, there would have been faster financial mobilization. Secondly, a single African currency could have simplified foodstuffs from Togo, Burkina Faso, and Ivory Coast. For these two reasons, that would ensure preparedness for dealing with natural disaster management. I stand for the motion. Africa should have one currency for all African countries to trade on. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, my name is Honorable Chloe Agatetegu, Minister for Business Development. I rise today in a strong support of the motion that all Africans should use one currency to trade. This will improve 1. Intra-African trade, 2. Traveling from one country to another, 3. Trading becomes easier and faster. Let all rise and support this idea for a better Africa. Let's all do it now for a stronger Africa. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, may you live long. Madam Speaker, honorable members of the House, my name is Honorable Judith Tupei, and today I rise to speak in firm support of the motion that Africa should adopt one currency for trading. Madam Speaker, my first submission is that a single African currency will enhance regional trade and economic integration. At present, African countries engage in cross-border trade with great difficulty, owing to numerous currency and volatile exchange rates. The introduction of a single currency would eliminate these financial barriers, reduce transaction costs, and encourage intra-African commerce. It will strengthen the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area and promote sustainable economic development across the continent. Madam Speaker, the second point is in response to what the opposing side likely argued on, that Africa is not politically or economically ready for a common currency. With due respect, such a position reflects fear rather than foresight. Political instability exists, yes, but it is precisely through coordinated financial system that stability and discipline may be achieved. A common currency would necessitate cooperation, transparency, and stronger institutions, which are prerequisites for long-term peace and unity. Progress do not wait for perfect conditions. Rather, it is through taking bold steps that development is realized. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, a single African currency would not only serve as a tool for economic growth, but also as a symbol of unity, strength, and independence. I therefore urge this honorable House to support the motion in the interest of Africa's future. Thank you.
All right, it's been amazing in the Kids Parliament, with more knowledge and insight and thoughtful from these children against and for the motion. Today they deliberated on the topic, should African use one currency as a trade? And I believe you have enjoyed a lot. I have also enjoyed myself, and I can't wait for the whole Africa to trade on one currency if it's going to be possible. My name is still Rosemary Oseikofo. I have been your host from beginning to the end now. We are going back to the parents to listen to what they have for us, and then I'll come back again. Wow, it's been wonderful. I think Insight has been amazing, and you have been listening to the children. I'm here with Miss Esinam. She's the Wukong of Gempa, current Wukong. So we want to interview her. We want to know what she think about the children's presentation today. Hi, Miss Esinam.
Hi.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you, and congratulations on your event.
Thank you so much. So you have been inside for a while.
Right.
What do you think about these children who are putting their minds on Ghana agendas? I mean, things that are happening in our country. Now they want us to have one currency. And these children, some were against, others were for. What are your intake about these children?
Right, thank you so much. I think it has been a wonderful topic to talk on because I haven't really thought about something like that. And they did so well. I didn't really come from the beginning, but the few ones that came to, talk for and against the motion really did well. Like, really, really did well. And I'm hoping this is going to go on and on and on for it to be out there, like very big, for the government to also, consider these things, and for other countries to also consider these things as well. And I think for the motion, it's going to benefit us a way, and against the motion too is going to benefit us a way. So we as an African country, we should come together. We should listen to what these kids are saying and come together and see what would actually work for us. For me, I think I'm going to go for the motion because the exchange rate and the investment and buying things from outside, even right now, car rate is very expensive because of the dollar rate and all of that, and you have to be paying duties and all. So I think it's a very interesting topic to talk about, and the way they portrayed themselves, their reasons, and contributions and comments about the topic is really insightful. It's really mind blowing, and I have really learned a lot from them, though. And I think they did amazingly well, and they should keep up. And thanks be to you for coming
Thanks
up with
be
the
to God. So,
God, yeah, and you
and
too.
your last one, I want to know. So, what advice would you give to parents who are also having children like this age, and they are not giving them the opportunity? I mean, a good platform like this to stand on. Any advice to parents?
Well, to me, I would tell them that we are in the modern world, we are in the Gen Z world, and these things actually are factors that open the minds of these kids. So you keeping your child, in the corner and not letting him or her come out with that flying colors or that idea or that vision they have would actually, tarnish the image of the child and also diminish his or her abilities. So I think they should give them the opportunities. They should be very open. They should, give them the chance to explore their talents and whatever they have in mind as well. And you might not know some of the kids.
Exactly.
You don't even know the talent in them until
Yeah.
you give them the opportunity. So I think this is a good platform for them to, be open about these things and allow their kids to explore their talents as well.
I think they are promising. From what I saw, some of them were quite fluent, and the points that they made were quite substantial. So I think it's promising, and it's good to see that the children coming up have such a bright future, and we are hopeful. And we hope that it will continue as they grow so that they can make proper impact in our society.
All right. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming. So you have also been around for some time now. So what do you see with these children in the house, and then when they come out, are they being expressive, or you think that what we see in the house is the same thing that we see outside?
Okay, so I would want to say that it's a very good program. I've loved it and I'm so much impressed about it. It's giving the children opportunity to express themselves, and I'm seeing future parliamentarians and presidents and ministers in this group of children.
Yeah.
They are doing super wonderful things. Yes, in the house they may be quiet, not being expressive so much, but here with the platform given them, they've been able to express themselves, and I'm so impressed. I know that the future is bright for this kids.
All right, thank you. So what do you tell other parents?
Yes, I'll tell the parents to join. It's a good idea. It's giving the children a platform that we didn't get when we were growing up. And therefore, we should support this. We should support this from national level. Schools should join in and let's take it to the next level. It's a good experience.
Thank you so much. So, Auntie, from episode 1 up to episode 6 today, do you see any hope in your beautiful daughter? Has she become very vocal to you?
Yes, from episode 1 to I think 5 or 6 now, it's every week it's progressing. The truth of the matter is, she told me she wants to build a confidence and be a public speaker, of which I am putting in my best. But the judges are also doing well with their critics and their comments and everything. I think she's improving week by week. Yes, I think YPS is doing, or Learning Tree Foundation is doing an excellent job grooming the kids.
All right, so I have one teacher here, and I want to ask him some few questions too. Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
Okay, so it's been wonderful. I think you have enjoyed yourself for
Exactly.
the back-to-back presentation of the children. So now, you being a teacher, I want to ask, what advice would you give to your fellow teachers or headmasters? Do they have to give their children more opportunity to attend these programs, or you think they should do it in the school?
Thank you very much, madam. Before I answer your question, actually, I've been humbled by what I've just seen.
Okay.
The children have done so well. Their level of confidence, fluency, and the way they display their ideas actually have humbled me. Back to your question. Education shouldn't be confined to the four walls of a classroom. They should be allowed to go out. As they go out, they learn from others as well. As we've just met here, I, as a teacher, I have learned a lot from the kids. So as the children too have also done. So I'll advise my fellow teachers, parents, to allow their children, their students to go out. Some parents, as soon as you bring on board sex, oh no, as for me, no, don't go, no. But this program should diffuse such thoughts. Parents should allow their children to go out. Teachers should also give them the opportunity to express themselves outside their classroom.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for enjoying us. This is the Kids Parliament. We've come to the end of the program, and I believe that you have heard a lot from the parents. They've given their thoughts and their ideas as to what the next generation is seek to be. I hope that you are also planning of bringing your child to join the Kids Parliament. So we are all over. You can call us on the number displayed on your TV set and register your child. Once again, I am Rosemary Osei Kofo. I have been your host from the beginning to the end now.